In this video, we are going to discuss a physical process known as electrolysis. Electrolysis is a process in which an electricity is used on chemical compound to separate compounds or to break a compound into elements. Or electrolysis is a process in which electricity dissociate chemical compounds into separate ions or into elements. We can write this like this. Electrolysis is a process which is used to separate compound into ions or elements upon the application of electricity. So in a simple word, in electrolysis, electricity is used to break chemical compound into elements. Common example of electrolysis usually take place in sodium chloride and water molecules H2O. In electrolysis of a sodium chloride upon the application of electricity is converted into sodium plus chlorine ions. Please note that chlorine is a diatomic molecule, so it will always be found in a combination of two chlorine. So in order to balance the equation, we will multiply 2 on both sides and we will get this equation for the electrolysis of sodium chloride. In case of H2O molecule, it will be converted into hydrogen ion, which will be positive plus hydroxyl OH ions, okay, like this. So we will multiply this by 2 in order to balance equation 2OH. So this will be balanced equation for the electrolysis of the water molecules. Dear student, please note that a device in which electrolysis takes place is known as electrolytic cell or electrolytic cell. It is a cell in which electrolysis takes place. So now, dear student, let us explain the electrolysis of a sodium chloride in electrolytic cell. Electrolytic cell, dear student, the device in which electrolysis takes place is known as electrolytic cell. Is usually consist of a container and container is filled with a solution. Suppose we are using a sodium chloride electrolytic cell. So the electrolytic cell based on sodium chloride will consist of sodium chloride in a form of melt, sodium chloride NaCl in a form of melt or in the form of molten state. The melting temperature of sodium chloride is around 800 degrees centigrade. So now the electrolytic cell consists of electrode, and these electrodes will be cathode and anodes. Anode of electrolytic cell is usually positive charge or is connected with the positive terminal of the battery, whereas cathode of the electrolytic cell is negatively charged or connected to the negative terminal of battery. So in electrolytic cells, electricity is basically used to generate or used to break down a compound like sodium chloride, melt into sodium and chlorine ion. So for this, the cathode and anode will be in electrolytic cells are connected with electric potential or with a battery which is used as a power source. So it battery has a positive and negative terminals. Negative terminal of battery will be connected with the cathode of the electrolytic cell, whereas the positive terminal of the battery the will be connected with the anode of the electrolytic electrode cells. Okay, so this will be positive charge will be connected with the terminal will be connected with anode. So now sodium chloride NaCl is usually very attractive to each other. It is an ionic compound, so they are likely they like to be bonded with each other. However, in order to deassociate them, we need a high potential or high potential volt or high potential or high voltage. So high voltage will be applied across the cathode and electroanode of the electrolytic cell. So the sodium and chloride, they will be break down into sodium plus and chlorine Cl negative ion, sodium plus and chlorine negative ions, sodium plus and chlorine negative ions upon the application of high potential or upon the application of the voltage. So the cathode basically has ability to push the electrons. So cathode will push chlorine away from itself, but it will attract positively charged sodium toward itself. In case of anode has ability to pull electron toward itself. So chlorine Cl negative will move toward the anode of the electrolytic cell. So in this way, the sodium atom plus atom ion will basically go toward the cathode, whereas chlorine negative ions will go toward the anode. And in this way, these two ions, sodium and chlorine from sodium chloride, will be associated, will be separated by applying high potential in electrolytic cell. The deassociation of a sodium and chlorine may be represented by equation. There are usually occur two types of chemical reactions which are basically responsible for the deassociation of sodium chloride upon the application of electric potential. So student, one type of chemical reaction occur in during electrolysis in electrolytic cell is oxidation reaction. And second type of reaction which occur is known as reduction reaction. So in a sodium chloride, during the electrolysis, sodium is converted into sodium plus and chlorine negative ion. Please keep in mind, usually chlorine is occur in diatomic molecule and it's diatom, so it will be Cl2 first, but for simplicity we represent it as a simple chlorine. Okay, so now the electrolytic cell, as I have previously discussed, consists of a cathode and cathode and anode. These are two types of electrodes used in electrolytic cell. Cathode has ability to push electrons toward the electrolyte or toward the electrolytic solution, whereas anode has ability to pull the electron from the electrolytic solution. So in case of sodium chloride, we have sodium ion. Sodium ion have a positive charge, so they will move toward cathode, which basically has ability to push electrons. So sodium ions will interact with electron, they will gain an electron and they will be converted into sodium atom. So a chemical reaction in which an electron are received by atom or electrons are received by ions is known as reduction reaction. So reduction will take place for sodium ions. In case of chlorine having a negative charge, okay, they will move toward positively charged anode. Anode is a part of electrode which has ability to pull electrons toward itself. So when chlorine move toward the anode, chlorine will basically give electron Cl, and it will be converted into Cl atom or chlorine atom. So this is basically a reaction in which electron is lost, is known as an oxidation reaction. So oxidation reaction will transform chlorine. Now we can combine these two equations and we can get half equation we can get a total equation as sodium chloride Na plus electron plus chlorine Cl minus into sodium Na plus chlorine plus electrons. The electron will cancel the electrons and net reaction will be Na plus Cl minus NaCl. Please keep in mind the sodium chloride, sodium and chlorine in atomic form are more stable when they interact with each other and they form sodium chloride. Okay. So in case of electrolysis in a sodium chloride, electric potential is applied on a sodium chloride. The high voltage when applied on a sodium chloride, they deassociate molten sodium chloride into sodium and chlorine ions. Electrode used in electrolytic cells are cathode and anode. Cathode is positively cathode has the ability to push electron, whereas anode has ability to pull the electron. So sodium atom, which has in ionic form has positive charge, so they will be pulled by cathode, and by receiving electrons, sodium ion will be converted into sodium atom. Whereas in case of chlorine has a negative ion, has a negative charge, so they will be pulled by anode, and chlorine will be converted, electron will be given back chlorine, and chlorine will be converted into chlorine atom. And sodium and chlorine atoms are more favorably occur in the form of a sodium chloride, so they will be ionically bonded and converted into sodium chloride. Okay.